Did you ever get in positions where all you was trying to do is make things better, and it got more complicated than you expected? But we've been through this before with these saws. This is that 90cc 365 special right here that we showed in the last couple of videos, and I'd love to run this weekend. I had to get an air horn because I didn't want that old sideways carburetor thing that I've got here. Choke linkage wasn't going to work right. Trying to sort that out was a bugger. What complicated it was wanting to run the low top air cleaner, and the OEM cover for this. I normally will run a 390 cylinder, which is taller, and I have to use the X-Torque top cover. And so you end up with a little more room. Well, I wanted to keep this as much 365 as I can, just plain and simple. And I had to do some head scratching, and I'll tell you what I did. I got the X-Torque blue choke lever. It's got that big bend in it, and so I needed that, so I got one. And also the air horn, because of wanting to run this style air cleaner right here, I had to have the proper air horn to accept that. And hopefully in this bag, what I ordered is right. I did find out they did make a low top version of the X-Torque. It was a little unclear whether it was absolutely correct. Oh yeah, see, we're good. What I needed was the bolt holes to be at an angle like this instead of straight across from each other. But the dilemma was, which we knew this, is they got that center divider that I've got to cut out of there with my Fordham. So I'm going to take care of that. But most importantly, what I got to do is get this thing apart. So I have the parts. I've got what it takes. Now what I've got to do is sort through and get the tools. I've got a pile of tools right in front of me, everything I need. And it's going to take a minute to figure out what's what. Everything has got red and black handles. Everything. I need a better color coding system, but that's the way it is. So I'm looking in amongst this stuff. I have to take the intake boot off and everything and do some mods. So I'll get this back apart and show you what I do. Okay, I've got the carb off, and what I've had to do is the 395 has got this the lever on the carb has got this little hole right here for the wire style choke lever, and the 365 372, that series of saw, what they had was a much bigger hole right here. You can see for the plastic, so that'll go in there. Now what you have to do, and that goes in there like that, you know, what you have to do is you have to put that in so that when the choke closes, it's at the rear. Okay, this is the back of the carb. So when you push it in, the choke operates. Because the way that I could have done this, that I would have had this lever on the top, it would have been in to choke and then pull it out to be able to run it. Well, I have kind of a high standard on what I'm expecting out of this. I want it to operate absolutely correctly. And I'll tell you why. It's because whatever I have to do to make this work properly, the 95cc for bucking, it's going to be a low top air cleaner. I'm going to have the same set of problems. So I'm using this one as a little crash test dummy to get all this sorted out. So the next thing I got to do is bolt this carburetor back onto the saw. And I'm going to trim this gas line off because I see that it fits kind of loose. So I've got enough room to do that. Because when you put your gas line back on your nipple, if that just plops right on there, you can suck air instead of gas. This is the way that is. Now, the first thing I have to do is remove this infernal divider from this X-Torque air horn for the low top X-Torque. And I got to do it here up on top, right down through and into here. So I'm going to do that here right now. I'll get you set up so you can kind of watch a little bit and listen to the racket, because it's a lot of fun. So as long as you don't mind the noise, we'll get to ripping this out of there. Just use this type of tool. And get where you're comfortable. This is the thing about grinding, guys. I don't care what you got to do to get where you're comfortable. You find something that works. Sometimes it's just something. Okay, that's not so bad. So I'm gonna just get this where I want to cut it. Okay, what I do is I leave room to trim. I can see the one thing I need actually is just a little more light here. So I can see what I'm doing just a little nicer. And we're that far. I just got to get it from the top. I'll start in the middle there somewhere. Okay, we've got that mostly cut out now. It you can kind of see what we're doing there. Just get that out of there, and then just clean it up a little bit, and it'll be right. It'll work right. That's what you want. You want it to just work right. Okay, basically, you don't want any of that hairy stuff going through your saw, so just make sure you get it all out. So that, friends, is the air horn we need. The one thing I don't think we need is we don't need this this little locator pin right there. So we'll get rid of that. Now, something that you'll need is, because we're using the X-Torque air horn, the recess of the bolts isn't the same. So you need the X-Torque bolts. And I had to go to my bolt tray. This is the length that was in it, and these are what belong in it. See, I mean, they're a bunch longer. So what I got to do is get this all together now. And okay, here it is. You'll see that the OEM ones are right here. See, that's short, and X-Torque, they're long. See how much longer the Boss is? It's that way on both sides. You can see there's quite a difference. So we'll get that together. Them through that carb. And I'll get it where it started, and we'll continue on. Okay, now that you can see that our bolts are at an angle, whereas the way that we're set up right now, like the 372, you can see that our bolt holes are across from each other. I have to take this intake off and modify it so I can turn it to match these bolts right here. Instead of being straight across like that, they're at an angle like that. So let me get that off. Okay, what you have to do for trimming these darn things, this little knob right here on both sides, just take side cutters, cut that off. The same thing right here, this whole mess right here. Take your side covers, razor blade, whatever, take that right off. Because what's going to happen, you're going to rotate that, and all that stuff's going to be in the way. And I've got this one on, and we're ready to start putting the carburetor and stuff together. So I'll get things kind of mocked up, and I'll bring it back to it. Okay, there's a few things that you have to do to make this work. And really looking at it, if you use the X-Torque throttle cable holder, you know, this clamp right here, instead of this one, but I wanted this aluminum on there. I don't want to take the saw apart any more than I got to. And I like the idea of that. Well, you gotta, right down here in this area, you gotta take your little carb tray and you gotta grind that out, which you'll lose that boot. But you gotta give it room for there. But the nice thing is, by using that choke lever and stuff that we did, we got this 395 carb fitting here swimmingly. Our choke works right. Our throttle works, high idle works, everything. So the benefits outweigh the negatives. Okay, now that we have everything in place, you got to realize we got a lot of parts here in the saw that doesn't belong on the saw. And then wanting to run the OEM cover and air cleaner cover, it's not as easy as it's not right up front. But hopefully what I've done is showed you, if you get into this position where you say, I want a 390 carb, a 372X torque carb, or whatever, and I want to do it on a low top. High top's easy. That's simple. Boom, boom, done. X torque, high top, air horn, and you're golden. This is not up front, but I just showed you everything you got to do. So remember this stuff. Remember everything I had to do. It looks nice. This is what I like. It looks nice. Is it OEM? Oh, heck no. Is it what OEM done or would have done if they built the same saw? I got an idea. It's pretty close. Now, when you trim that intake rubber away, the one thing that can happen is your impulse line can get stuck right under the edge of that cover. So just have that in mind. That can happen. And now what I got to do is get these tops covered as long as everything starts. Okay, that started. I think it's just about time to put the flag for the chain brake on. Bar on it. We run some heat cycles. Now keep in mind, guys, we're going to run it just a little bit and just see how it feels. I don't have the ring gap that I think I should have, and apparently you guys don't either. But I'm going to run it just a little bit. I'm going to take it apart because I'd like to run as tight a ring gap as I could, but I don't want nothing bad to happen either. You know, we've got too much time in this. And besides the fact, this is, as a finished product, I think it's a way cool saw. I really do. It's not obnoxiously loud. Yeah. We can make it loud. But I think there's something to be said for having this thing really quite intact. Just a true sleeper. I see the one thing that's going to be a real problem is getting this air cleaner on this saw, because that carburetor looks like it's just a little long. Let's just see. Oh my goodness. No way. It's gonna go. Come on. Oh, look at it. You gotta see this, guys. Look at this. That fit exactly like it should. Now, if it'll clear our air cleaner cover. Oh, goodness sakes. See, that's why I shut the camera off when I move it. Okay, please go. Oh, goodness sakes. I think it's fine. Boy, them snaps. Okay, this is fine. What's wrong with that? I don't see anything wrong with that. That's what I think. Okay. Back on my impact wrench or my battery drill or God knows what. Okay, I did have this started just a minute ago, but we're going to give it a little high idle. Switch is on. idle's just a little bit low. I'm going to bring that up a bit. I'm going to see if I can actually get my little rubber houdini thing on there that lines up my screwdriver with these screws. That's what I'm going to try to do. Because that should be about right. When we're going to go in the woods with us here, we're going to put it in the wood here, right post haste. It won't be today. I hope this weekend. It may be tomorrow. I don't know. I'm going to bar it up. I got to sharpen the chain. Round file, chisel file, do something. I'll try it with a 24-inch bar because the wood I got is not all that big. I don't want to put it right straight in the big wood. I just soon give this a little bit of a break. Okay, chainsaw flag. I got to think of that. Okay, so we got the bolts sorted out. It takes the long bolts from the X-Torque when you put the X-Torque horn on. So basically, you're doing that, but you're using a 372, in this case, intake, 395 carb, and finding a way to make everything gel for a 90cc saw. But I think this would be a showstopper, just one thing. This is our first one built like this. Of course, you know we're doing the 95cc here directly. That's going to be even a little bit more fun. Let's just call it what it is. It's going to be more fun. Okay, I got my little hat. That goes from the inside to the outside. You got to get that kind of, well, you get this started. Everything's got to go together. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Okay. This screw is just a little longer that goes right here. Don't pull one in too short. I've seen that done. I'll tell you what happens. You end up stripping the threads out of your case or your saw because it'll loose right up, vibrate, and or because it's only hanging on by a couple threads when you get the other length screw in there. It's kind of a bad deal. Okay, we got that part of the flag. Now we got our little screw. Just got to go in the handle. And I don't know if that's lined up right this second or not, but we'll get her lined up. So we will. I really like this saw, Eric Nelson. He donated this, and I was glad to get it. I'm kind of digging this 365 thing. I really am. I think it's hilarious. This isn't something that you gotta have a 365 to do. You can do it with 371, 372, 368, but it just makes it more fun. Okay, so part of this project, which is the hardest part as far as I'm concerned, it wasn't so bad to go to 90cc's with us because the bath lined up on the cylinder and 66 mag big bore piston. They have an 11 millimeter wrist pin, thanks for asking, guy, just like the 372. This is why that I kind of go right to the steel pistons and these smaller Huskies, just because of that. Because, it goes 390, I believe, is the first one, went right straight to the 12 millimeter. Which we can do, we just have to overcome a few more problems, and there's already enough trouble with us. But the fitment of getting that carb, the air horn, the linkage, the choke worked properly instead of being backwards like I've done in the past. I've got it. You pull it, it comes on choke, push it in, goes off choke. I had to laugh. There was one guy who said either paint or dye this blue choke lever, and he's right. I would notice that. If you hand me a 365 and I seen that blue lever, I know you at least got an X-Torque carburetor on it. And I'm going to wonder what else you did the minute I see that. This is the way it works. Okay, so a few things about it. When you do something, mod your muffler, just like this is just something simple. I don't think it gives it any more horsepower other than a factory muffler, maybe a little tiny bit. The important thing, I'm getting the heat out of the saw, okay? This is what I wanted, that, so I'm getting that. I think we'll probably test some of them crazy little mufflers that we build on this at some point, but most of the time it'll stay right here in this trim. I wanted my chain brake flag to clear everything, which it does. See, we got plenty of room. That worked. It's attention to detail when you're assembling things like this that shouldn't be together. That is what really makes it a class act. Now that we changed the air horn, maintained the stock air cleaner, yeah, that horn's just a little smaller than what should be on this, and we know that. Like I said, we're not looking for every stinking little bit of horsepower you can get out of this. I want this one to be fun to run. I want it reliable. And, well, jury's out on the reliable yet. We don't know. We think so. Piston wall clearance is great. We're going to open the ring up. Get just a little more clearance in there. I want this to look like what it is originally. That's just a 365 special. Nothing fancy. Bare bone saw. Even these are getting kind of pricey. You want my honest opinion, if you want to get into a 70cc class saw and you want something, don't get a steel first. Don't get a 44 or 46 or MS 460 or a 66 mag or any of them. They're a little more complicated. Cut your teeth on these older Huskies. They're like working on a World War II Army Jeep. They're right down basic, simple. They had spring mounts in the front, side, and on the handlebar. They're fantastic. They're a durable saw. They're just a wonderful saw to run. I run steels more than I have Huskies. That's buying them brand new from this era, buying them brand new and just running them. The Husky was generally a couple $100 cheaper than the steel. Okay, it was. We could buy these for around $600, and it cost around $800 to buy the steel. But I was buying a steel, and we actually buying them a couple of times generally, and had good luck with them. Really did. The Huskies had their quirks. Steels did too. Is one better than the other? No. What are you going to do with it? Honestly, when I was logging hard, I was really trying to make a good living at it, and I did most of the time. We won't talk about the bad days. If I had a guy who had a lot of finesse, a lot of chainsaw skills, I'd put a steel in their hands if that's what they wanted. I had a rough cowboy. It was hard on saws. I wouldn't give him a choice. I'd put one of these Huskies in his hands. I'm going to tell you why. They're a lot more durable. The mounts and everything and these are way stronger than what the steel was. The steel didn't have that. Plus, these air cleaners, you could run them 2 days without cleaning them, 3 days even, and that was fine. The steel was higher maintenance. Those of you guys that run them back then, or still do with the older saws, that air cleaner on steels, you better be cleaning that out at lunchtime. You better. And then at the end of the day or first thing in the morning, you better be cleaning them out. They needed it. But these definitely had a better air filtration. They did. So between having stronger mounts, better air filtration, if a guy was rough on a saw, it was just plain durable. I've seen these get run over on the landing by a skidder before, 2 different times. And one, I owned the saw there, and I didn't. And backed over by the rear wheel. And it shoved it right straight down in the mud. Thank God there's mud. If it had been hard, it had been all over. But pull it right back out of the mud, knock the mud off, and start it up. I will guarantee you couldn't do that to a steel. It'd be busted all the heck. So, just nature of the beast. They were great saws. No, they're not best. Steel ain't best. What are you doing with it? Okay, guys, thanks for showing up. Thanks for being here. We will be seeing here in another couple days a cutting video with a saw. Hopefully we don't blow it up. Goodbye.